Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. It's been a while. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Avatar Aang versus Avatar Korra. Who wins in the Battle of the Avatars? This video has been covered several times here on YouTube, but I figured why not put my little 2 cents in. Let's jump straight into it. Now in this versus battle, we'll be going over several different categories such as physical attributes, training, experience, martial arts and bending, and knowledge. In the physical attributes category, we'll discuss who has the edge in overall strength, durability, stamina, and speed. In the martial arts category, we'll discuss who has the edge in training, fire bending, air bending, water bending, earth bending, all the different bending types, and the avatar state. And then in the knowledge category, we'll be discussing who has the edge in battle IQ, tactics, and experience. Now, before we actually dig into the battle, we gotta go over the personalities of both avatars. Starting with Aang, he is an extroverted individual who values fun, adventure, humor, and excitement. But when he's faced with conflict, Aang was the opposite of adventurous. He always tried to solve issues and conflicts peacefully and did his best to hold back against those who he was fighting. And Aang only resorted to violence as a last resort due to his air nomad beliefs. But should something happen to Aang and his friends, or if Aang was overcome with intense feelings of rage and sadness, he would become hostile and would enter the Avatar state. In his later years, and even sometimes at the end of Avatar The Last Airbender, Aang would adopt a more serious, calm, and level-headed personality while still showing aspects of the Aang that we all know and love. Korra in many ways was the direct opposite of Aang. When her series started, and as we see many times, Korra was strong, tough, confident, and at times headstrong, impatient, and sarcastic, and could let the emotions get the better of her, qualities that we can all relate to. But she also possessed a lot of good qualities such as compassion, kindness, empathy, selflessness, and loyalty. When facing conflict, Korra at first often ran it head first, adopting the shoot first and ask questions later method, but this proved to be disastrous to others and the environment. As time went on, and ultimately at the end of her series, Korra became wiser, more mature, and more responsible. Her determination of being the Avatar was stronger than ever. She became more level-headed and peaceable with others and would only fight when necessary. Simply put at their cores, Aang was a natural peacemaker, while Korra was a natural fighter. In regards to the physical attributes of things, out of universe, Korra's athleticism and physicality were key components of her character creation. In universe, Korra's strength is very impressive. She possesses a muscular build and a considerable amount of raw strength that enables her to easily lift many people at once, including grown men, and throw them. She can take on and knock out opponents in just one blow, and she is capable of destroying chunks of ice and rock and pure metal and chains with ease. She also displays high levels of durability and endurance. She's able to tank several blows from highly skilled fighters, benders, and otherworldly beings, and able to push through exceptionally. For example, despite being poisoned by the Red Lotus, she was able to resist succumbing to the poison and was able to continue fighting and soon defeat Zahir. Korra was also able to survive attacks from otherworldly creatures such as Vaatu, whose energy blasts are known to shred through stone. She was able to resist and overcome Amon's bloodbending and defeat him, as well as endure attacks from Quivira and Tarlok that proved to be dangerous and harmful. Korra is very fast. She's able to keep up and fight multiple opponents at once. Her skills as an acrobat are very impressive due to her ability to effortlessly dodge and evade opponents and large barrages of projectiles, especially in close quarters combat. She is also very skilled at parkour and freerunning, and is also quite flexible, able to bend and twist effectively enough to attack from various angles or squeeze through most spaces, so her agility is no joke. Korra is very skilled in the art of pro bending, the fusion of the 4 elements along with MMA fighting and boxing techniques, which focuses on quick strikes and evasive maneuvers. Throughout her pro bending career, her speed and agility improves exceptionally, and she is able to take on and evade and defeat 3 benders at once. Her speed, agility, and reaction times are highlighted in her battles against Tarlok and Unalaq, who are 2 of the quickest and most dangerous waterbenders that we've seen in the franchise. She's able to keep up and combat cheap blockers in the Lieutenant, who have proved to be faster and more agile than she is. She's able to take on metalbenders whose fighting style is known to be based on precision and speed, and she's relative and able to go toe-to-toe with Korra, who is the pinnacle of metalbending skill, speed, and precision with high amounts of difficulty. She's evaded torpedoes underwater without using her waterbending. She's easily navigated the spinning panels of an airbending exercise, and she's fast enough to evade an energy attack from the spirit cannon of Korra's mech. Korra is no slouch in regards to physicality. She is a master and versatile powerhouse, and at the end of her series, she considers herself stronger than she has ever been before. Now we'll move on to Aang, who, although is a 12-year-old boy, he is nothing to laugh at. However, his physical strength and durability feats aren't too noteworthy either. Getting into a couple of them, Aang is able to easily break rock, he's able to carry large boulders on his back without difficulty. One time when he was sleep deprived, he was able to strike a tree so hard that he can shake the tree. In terms of durability and endurance, Aang's durability has been shown to be very inconsistent at some moments in the show, but he has constantly been shown to endure low to mid levels of attacks. For example, he was able to tank a hit from the being known as High Bay, whose attacks have been shown to destroy buildings. He has tanked a few attacks from the likes of Boomy, who, in my honest opinion, wasn't trying to seriously hurt Aang. He's tanked attacks from Zuko, some fodder earthbenders, and many different others. Aang doesn't have too many feats of durability. However, when Aang is going against those who do massive amounts of damage, he is known to be very lackluster. During his battle against Azula on the drill, his defenses are overpowered by Azula's attacks and he is rendered unconscious for a period of time. He would have been finished by Azula had she ended him quickly instead of gloating, which allowed him to snap back into reality. Later at Ba Sing Se, he again faces Azula, and once more his defenses are overpowered by her attacks, and he's launched away from the battle, probably unconscious for another period of time before he comes back to assist Katara. And then later on again, he is struck by lightning and killed by Azula, although this probably would have killed anyone. And during his fight against Ozai, his defenses are destroyed once again, leaving him dazed for a short period of time. Although strength isn't Aang's biggest strength in terms of physicality, what is though is his speed. Aang is fast, like really, really fast. But it's mainly because his speed and agility come from his airbending, but he's also pretty quick without it. Aang is a speedster, so his speed, agility, and reaction time are at the highest degree. For example, he's capable of running long distances at high speeds, causing gusts of wind. He's capable of running on water, and although this feat served as a comedic purpose, it's still valid. He's able to move faster than Toph can perceive. He's able to move faster than both Zuko and Azula and their attacks at the same time. He was even able to dodge a Sozin's Comet amped Ozai plenty of times, along with his lightning. He's fast enough to combat and evade Zuko and other firebenders in a confined space. He's fast enough to intercept Combustion Man's attacks. He's able to dodge weapons he can't see through smoke. He's able to perform large leaps, and also with the added bonus of his shaved head, he has heightened sensitivity. Aang is capable of defending himself by just simply dodging and avoiding attacks and defeating enemies without even striking them. This form of movement or fighting style was inspired by the martial art Bag Uz Hang. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it consists of an intricate set of foot and palm movements to dodge, walk circles around the enemy, and strike unexpectedly as well as defend from all angles, which we see Aang do plenty of times in this series. However, like with his speed, Aang's agility is connected to his airbending, and while he is still very agile, there are individuals such as Ty Lee who outclass him even without bending. So who takes the physical edge? Aang has some decent feats of strength and durability. It takes a lot of effort to actually land a hit on Aang. During the events of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Aang had the advantage of no one seeing or fighting an airbender in 100 years, so no one knew how to attack, defend, or counter against him. However, as we see with Aang's duel with Azula on the drill at Ba Sing Se, Azula proved to be more than a match against him and constantly pressed him, which made Aang use all the elements in his arsenal to no avail, and he was eventually knocked out by her for a short period of time. He took many tough blows from Zuko, Azula, and the Dai Li while in Ba Sing Se, and was only defeated when Azula struck him with lightning. In his fight with Ozai, although Aang never took a direct hit from Ozai, if he did, then I think it'd be a game over for Aang. Korra, on the other hand, is a different story. As we see multiple times throughout her series, Korra is exceptionally strong and highly durable. She is able to take tons of damage and continue fighting all the while taking more and more damage. And since durability goes hand in hand with endurance, Korra is relentless when it comes to taking damage and pushing forward. She will not stop unless her body gives out and she is physically unable to continue. She continues to push forward despite the pain, unlike Aang, who is out of the fight when he takes a serious hit. To also add on to this, even though Aang's body is stronger than that of a normal person his age, his body is nowhere near as strong as Korra's and is known to be one-shotted. Korra is 17 years old in the book 1 of Legend of Korra, and that version is clearly stronger and more durable than Aang. But we are talking about a book 4 Korra who is 21 years old. Overall, Korra is stronger, heavier, taller, more durable, and a tougher opponent, while Aang is a shorter, lighter, faster, and more agile opponent. It will be hard for Korra to land a hit on Aang, but she might have an easier time since she knows airbending, which will probably give her an advantage and catch Aang off guard, causing him to stumble. Once this happens, Korra will have enough time to gain the advantage. However, even though Aang will be able to deal damage to Korra, he's going to have an extremely difficult time trying to put her down for good. And since his primary focus is defense, he won't be able to attack Korra while also keeping up his defense, and as a result, like his battle with Azula, he will be overpowered in a matter of time. I give the physical edge to Korra. Now comes the training category. When it comes to training, this one is more difficult for me to determine. On one hand, Aang was formally trained by the airbending masters at the Southern Air Temple. This would be beneficial for him not only because air was his native element, but also because he would learn the art in its truest form. However, when it comes to waterbending, he had some training from Master Pakku, but his training primarily came from Katara. When it comes to earthbending, Aang was trained by Toph, who, because of her unique circumstances, was a master at the art. When it comes to firebending, Aang first learned the art from Master Zhang, but later Zuko became his primary master. Overall, Aang's training resulted from many individual teachers, but we have to remember that Aang, by the time of the series ended, only had 12 years worth of airbending, which enabled him to become a master. But with the other elements, he had only a year or even less training, and he was not a master at water, earth, or fire, only airbending. And at the time of his series, he didn't have enough time to master all the elements, but he did have a connection to the elements due to him traveling to different parts of the world to learn the elements. Korra, on the other hand, is a different story. Because of her upbringing and training, by the time the series started, Korra was already using 3 of the 4 elements, and later became a master of 3 of the 4 elements. Korra was trained by an older, wiser, and more experienced Katara in the arts of waterbending and healing, but she also learned Republic City's modernized, aggressive, and straightforward style of the element. She was also trained by the White Lotus in earthbending, and she was also taught the modernized Republic City style by Bolin. When it came to firebending, she was trained by the White Lotus, and when it came to airbending, she was taught by Tenzin and also Jinora. Overall, Aang's training included your typical master and student relationship, but his training in water, earth, and fire only amounted to around a year, maybe even less. But Korra, on the other hand, was formally trained and had multiple individuals as her teachers. So who has the advantage? To be honest, I'm not quite sure, but I would personally give the edge to Korra. She has trained longer, and even though she had multiple teachers, which may seem like a disadvantage, individuals such as Bolin and Jinora just helped her adapt a new aspect of the art and to her style. Aang, on the other hand, had a few teachers, but he wasn't trained as well as Korra, neither as long as she had either. I'd give the edge to Korra in training. However, if someone had a quality versus quantity argument for Korra and Aang's training, I would understand that perspective. But over here, I'm giving the edge to Korra in terms of training. Now getting into the bending arts, starting with Aang. As we all know, Aang is an airbending master. At age 12, he received his master tattoos, making him the second youngest airbending master ever. Aang is his most used element, supposedly using the element 668 times in his show. Aang typically uses airbending for pure defensive purposes such as evasion and other ways to avoid confrontational combat. His skill with the art is masterful, using many techniques for utility and combat such as the air scooter, tornadoes, currents, air blast, gust of wind to lift or deflect objects, as well as defeat opponents, even a multitude of them. He can create air bubbles, increase his strength and agility and speed with the element, repel fire, and he can use the element with deadly force with slicing. Aang's power, skill, and experience needs no further explanation. Now when it comes to waterbending, Aang was a prodigy. At first he was better than his master and friend Katara, but she would later surpass him in skill. However, It was one of Aang's least used elements in battle, mainly because he used it for utility purposes instead of combat. He didn't carry a water skin like most waterbenders. Instead, he often takes advantage of nearby or large bodies of water such as rivers, lakes, and oceans. Aang doesn't have the skill to take water from plants, trees, or the air, but he's able to create massive streams and tidal waves, water tentacles, water whips. He's able to manipulate clouds and ice, and his waterbending is strong enough to slice through metal. Aang is a powerful and skilled waterbender, but he is not a master of the element. When it comes to earthbending, Aang had a hard time bending the element at first because it contrasted his personality and native element, but later it became his second most used element after air due to its availability and defensive capabilities. He's able to bend large boulders, columns, and pillars. He's able to form rock armor. He's able to create walls, barriers, shelters, and restraints for opponents. He's able to create projectiles of earth, destroy enemy earthbending attacks, and he's able to perform grand slams, which cause massive destruction. And he's also able to use the element for utility and mobility purposes. Despite his high proficiency with the element, Toph stated that Aang could still improve in his earthbending, clearly showing that he was not a master. However, Aang's power and skill with the art proved that he was a powerful earthbender and a force to be reckoned with. Moving on to firebending, Aang proved to be a natural with the element. However, due to him having no skill, control, or practice with the element, he ended up burning Katara and stopped using the element for a period of time. But after meeting the Sun Warriors, discovering the dancing dragon form, learning the true meaning of firebending from Ra and Shaw, and also being taught how to firebend by Zuko, Aang progressed to proficiency with the element. Aang is able to perform the breath of fire technique while also shooting fire from his hands. He's able to perform highly powered blasts, kicks, and streams of fire. He's able to conjure massive fireballs. His flames are relative to Ozai, however, both of them are amped due to Sozin's comment, with Ozai being the strongest firebender in the world, and Aang being the most powerful firebending avatar ever at this current moment. Also, it's good to note that the dancing dragon style is more powerful than the standard firebending style, since it is the true version of firebending. For example, Zuko was a skilled firebender before meeting the Sun Warriors, but he wasn't as skilled and as strong as Azula, and could never beat her in a one-on-one match. After his training with the Sun Warriors, his firebending powers greatly increased, and he was able to go toe-to-toe with Azula, matching her blow for blow, and deflecting and dispelling her attacks. However, firebending is Aang's least used and weakest element. He doesn't have much training and technical skill in the element, and he doesn't naturally have the aggressive attitude that is required for firebending. He's a strong and competent firebender, but he is not a master. Personally, I think firebending has the potential to be Aang's second strongest element if he had continued to develop his skill. Moving on to Korra. Korra was 4 years old when she gained the abilities to bend 3 of the 4 elements. She first mastered water, then earth, and then fire. Starting with waterbending, Korra was extremely powerful with the art. With the combined strength of her raw power and Katara's training, Korra eventually became a master, being able to perform various offensive and defensive techniques. She was trained in both the southern and northern water styles, but also Republic City's pro-bending style. Her feats include bending large walls of ice and water, powerful water whips and tendrils, water waves and blasts, water sprouts, freezing water and manipulating ice, and she's able to take water from the air and use it to her advantage. Korra is a high-class waterbender and is a proven master. Even though it's her least used element, Korra is a very powerful earthbender, trained in both the traditional arts of earthbending by the White Lotus, but also the modern Republic City style by Bo Lin, to which she quickly adapted to and used often. Her style evolved from more of a traditional style to more of an adaptive style of earthbending, using the art similar to that of a firebender with light footwork and quick jabs. Her power was so strong that she's able to not only overpower other earthbenders, but also take control of their targets as well. Her earthbending is so strong that it has the potential to affect a considerable radius, upturning and destroying everything in the area. She's able to lift large boulders and create projectiles, and pillars of stone and barriers of defense. She's able to shatter large amounts of stone and shift the terrain and restrain opponents. Similar to earth and water, Korra also proved to be a natural at firebending at a young age, and later became a master. Usually, an avatar's hardest element is the opposite of their native element, but this was not the case for Korra. Due to her personality, natural assertiveness, and fiery spirit, firebending is Korra's most used element, using it about 221 times. Korra tended to utilize firebending when provoked, frustrated, or attempting to gain dominance. Her skill with the art is so masterful that she's able to perform the Breath of Fire technique, she's able to dispel and disperse other firebenders' attacks, produce fire daggers for close quarters combat, propel herself in the air for a short period of time, produce high-powered fire blasts, and perform the Wall of Flame technique. And finally, we have air for Korra, which was her hardest element to learn due to it being the most opposite to her personality. Although at first she couldn't bend the element, she was eventually able to perform the art's fighting style, battle tactics, and physical maneuvers, and was later able to quickly and gracefully pass the airbending gates. When Korra was finally able to gain access to airbending, she showed great power and skill, and over time her skill with the element grew significantly. Although she showed great power in her offensive use of airbending, her style of airbending varied dramatically from other airbenders, employing straightforward offensive maneuvers similar to firebending, while showing little of the traditional circular and spiraling movements. With airbending, Korra is able to perform air blasts, create air spheres and bubbles, create the air scooter. She's very skilled in a glider in both travel and combat. She's able to conjure tornadoes and whirlwinds. She's able to increase her agility and mobility with the element. Although it is her second most used element, and she's incredibly skilled in the art, I still believe that air is Korra's weakest element out of the four, and I still don't consider her a master, at least in the traditional sense. So who has the edge in the bending arts? Well, I think overall it goes to Korra, along with training, experience, skill, and the combined proficiency with all four of the elements. Korra is the most balanced of the two avatars. She is a master of three elements and is very proficient, highly proficient, dare I say near expert level in airbending. When it comes to waterbending, she was trained by an older, experienced, and wiser Katara for over 10 years, whereas Aang had some training with Master Pakku from at least a few weeks and at most a little over a month. Other than that, he was trained by Katara during the rest of the summer. Korra has way more technical training, skill, and experience in water. Aang may be a natural at waterbending, but he did not have the discipline, the determination, or the time to continue his training, whereas Korra was a prodigy and later became a master. Now when it comes to earthbending, Aang trained with Toph for a few months while Korra was trained for over a decade by the White Lotus. Some believe that Aang has a slight edge in this field since his training, although was shorter, had more quality. However, while Aang's training was more traditional, Korra also had traditional training in earthbending as well, and while it probably wasn't as strong as Aang's, she did have it on lock. Korra also has the modern pro bending style that allows her to be more fluid and be more agile if necessary, which in my opinion gives her the advantage not only because of her versatility, but also because of the fact that she is a master earthbender, whereas Aang is not. We'll also get into this later, but Korra is a metal bender. In order for you to become a metal bender, you have to have a special connection with earthbending. As we see in the Legend of Korra, Bolin, although tried to metal bend, could never metal bend. He became a lava bender instead. So on top of the fact that Korra has the body of an earthbender, she is more talented, she is more experienced, she has the natural mindset, and has a deeper connection to the element than Aang does. This proves that Korra is the better earthbender, so she takes the edge in earthbending. Now when it comes to firebending, Aang was taught the true meaning of it from the Sun Warriors and the Last Dragon's Draw in Shaw, on top of the fact that he was trained by Zuko for maybe a month or two at the most. So Aang was a competent firebender. In my own headcanon, for these reasons, I would say that his firebending power probably exceeds that of Korra's. But in reality, he was a moderate user of the element. He preferred to use water, earth, and air over fire. He lacked the natural willpower and aggression that a firebender needed to have. His experience was severely limited, and his skills were base level, maybe even slightly above that. Whereas Korra, on the other hand, is a master firebender. It is her most used element. It goes along with her natural personality. She has more training, more skill, more experience, and with that, she takes the edge in firebending. Now, do we even really need to talk about airbending? It's clear that Aang takes the edge in this category, so we'll move on to subbending types. The only subbending types that Aang possesses are energy bending, seismic sense, and lightning redirection. And speaking of energy bending, let's talk about Aang and his relationship with it. Because although energy bending as a whole is not very well understood even 18 years after ATLA's finale, What we do know is that users are able to remove bending and restore it to those that lost it. The user is also able to make a projection of themselves, and they're also able to manipulate energy. However, Aang is only able to take away and restore bending. Lightning redirection is not necessary in this battle due to the fact that neither avatar has lightning generation. With seismic sense, he is able to detect vibrations in the ground to perceive objects, people, and other aspects of the environment, essentially acting as a sonar, but through earth and metal. Now, moving on to Korra, she has the art of healing, which comes from water bending, which she is very skilled in. She also learned metal bending from Suyin Beifong, which made her the first metal bending avatar ever. She became so skilled that she's able to use metal cables to her advantage with great fluidity and dexterity in such a short period of time. So she's able to manipulate walls and metal surfaces. She's able to reshape metal and even bend metal out of her own body. Korra is also able to use energy bending. So not only can she grant bending to those who have lost theirs and take away bending, but she's also able to make a projection of herself. We see this in season 2 when she uses energy bending to connect with her own inner self, which gives her cosmic energy of the universe, giving her a giant astral projection of her own spirit. And while in this form, she can unleash energy blasts from her chest that could overpower the Dark Avatar Unavatu in a direct clash. She is also able to manipulate energy, as we see in season 4, where she protects herself and Quivira from a spirit laser, redirecting the energy so it destroys much of the surrounding city, and thus opening up a new portal to another dimension. So when it comes to who has the edge in subbending types, of course, we can kind of see that we have to lean towards Korra. She's very skilled in the healing arts, which will be beneficial to her in battle should she have time to actually heal. And she's very skilled at metal bending, to which Aang does not have. And she's way more skilled and way more experienced than Aang at this time in using energy bending. Now it's time to address the final part of the video, the avatar state, which is the elephant in the room, because it's widely considered that Aang has a stronger, more powerful version of the avatar state than Korra does, but I'll explain why this isn't the case, and I might go into this topic in another video if you guys want me to. But as we see in ATLA, Aang only received mastery of the avatar state at the very end of his series, right after the battle with Ozai, where he uses the water to get rid of all the flames that the Fire Nation has destroyed. That was when he finally gained the ability of mastering the avatar state, where he became a fully realized avatar. Any other point in time before this, he had no control over the avatar state, with the only exception being probably at Ba Sing Se right before he was temporarily killed by Azula. Those are the only two accounts that we have in Avatar: The Last Airbender where Aang had control over the avatar state. And in the universe, the avatar state, of course, gets stronger with every new avatar that comes in. So Aang's avatar state was the strongest in ATLA at that point. But we have to keep in mind how the avatar state works, because even though it is a defense mechanism, it is ultimately Raava who is the reason why it works the way that it does. We see at some points in the Avatar novels that they state that Raava gives the avatars their purpose and their power, but what gives the avatars their experience and techniques is the culmination of their past lives. So as we see in season 2, even though Korra loses these skills, the techniques, the experience of her past lives, what she gained was something even better, which was a prime Raava who canonically scales higher than any avatar because of two reasons. Number one, it's because Raava's existence and her power has existed for over 10,000 lifetimes before humans existed in universe, which makes this even crazier because we don't know the year that humans actually came into existence. Neither do we know the time period of where Raava came into the universe. The only date that we have at the earliest of when we have regarding humans is 9,829 years before the Air Nomad genocide, which was the same year that Wan became the first avatar. It was in that year that Raava also stated that she had already been battling Vaatu for 10,000 years. So we don't really know how old Raava is or how long she's been in universe. And also number two, Korra gained a better, more intimate relationship with Raava than any other avatar due to the difficulty that was involved in learning of the avatar origin, which resulted in a large margin of avatars who had never interacted with Raava but only gained her power. So ultimately, Korra did lose her past lives, but she got something way better. And out of universe, Mike and Ryan have stated that the lost connection of the past lives is like rebooting your hard drive, which won't negatively impact the power and strength that the avatar has. And they also jokingly said that Korra may be stronger now that she did lose the past lives because she has a stronger relationship with Raava. So the way that it seems in universe is that you have post-harmonic convergence Korra, which is probably equal to or greater than pre-harmonic convergence Korra, who is greater than Aang. So I know this is probably like a little bit of a hot topic, but the creators and official Avatar media have referenced this both in and out of universe. And on top of the fact that during the production of Korra, Mike and Brian were plagued with many different troubles by Nickelodeon, so they couldn't actually make the show to their liking compared to how they did with Aang and the gang, only to what they were allowed to do, which is why throughout the Legend of Korra, Korra's Avatar state, even in seasons 1 and 2, seemed to be weaker than Aang's, even though in universe it isn't. So right now with these comparisons on their Avatar state, where I think in universe, even though they do a bad job of showing it in universe, Korra has the stronger Avatar state before harmonic convergence and after harmonic convergence. So now comes the verdict. Who wins? Well, after breaking down their personalities, their physical attributes, their training, their bending mastery, who actually walks away as the winner between the battle of the Avatars? Well, let's bring everything together. Aang is a prodigy, a natural-born airbending master. He's incredibly fast, he's very evasive, and nearly impossible to hit when he's focused. His adaptability and creativity are unmatched, and when he does commit to combat, he can overwhelm opponents with speed and unpredictability. But Aang's biggest weakness has always been the same thing. He doesn't like to hit back. His style is defensive, he's reactive, and it's based around outlasting or avoiding the fight altogether. And when he does engage, Aang's durability simply isn't on Korra's level. One clean hit is enough to put him in serious danger, and we've seen this happen multiple times. Korra, on the other hand, is built for battle. Physically, she's stronger, tougher, and far more durable. She can take punishment that would drop Aang instantly, and she keeps pushing forward. Her training is more extensive, more formal, and spread across more teachers. She's a master of 3 elements before her story even begins, and by book 4, she's refined her airbending, her combat IQ, and her emotional discipline. While Aang excels at evasion, Korra excels everywhere else: power, durability, aggression, modern technique, physicality, and sheer force of will. Aang can absolutely tag Korra, and he can absolutely outmaneuver her, but he cannot put her down before she eventually lands something significant. But when Korra lands a major blow, the fight swings dramatically in her favor. Add in the fact that Korra also knows airbending, giving her insight into Aang's natural style, and the gap becomes even clearer. If both fight seriously with all elements available, and without immediately jumping into the Avatar state, Korra is the winner. Her strength, durability, advanced training, and aggressive but refined style allows her to eventually overcome Aang's speed and evasiveness. Aang is an extremely tough opponent for her to hit, but once she does, the fight shifts in her favor. But if this fight should go into the Avatar state, it becomes much closer than people think. Aang has both the power of Raava combined with the knowledge of the past lives, and at the end of his series, he has finally mastered the Avatar state. Korra, on the other hand, has more experience using it. But even though Korra has lost the past lives, this doesn't make her Avatar state weaker. She has the same power, but she doesn't have the knowledge of the previous Avatars, which makes hers less skilled. But as I stated earlier, she is stronger because she has a personal relationship and better connection to Raava than any other Avatar in terms of recent history. And this Raava scales higher than any Avatar, since it is Raava that gives the Avatar their power and their purpose. Even though I can see Aang winning the battle using his Avatar state, personally I lean more towards Korra. If Korra and Aang truly did fight, I personally think that Korra would win 8 out of 10 times, with the other 2 being that Aang either won the fight from the Avatar state or he ran away. But guys, this is just my opinion, and I'd be happy to know what you think. If you like, let me know in the comments below who would win in a battle between Aang and Korra and why. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and until the next one, I'll catch y'all later. Peace out.